How do I start this podcast again? Okay. Hello and welcome to Behind the Locked Doors, a conference call masquerading as a podcast where we peer pressure each other into completing the side projects that would get left by the wayside. I am Scott Paladin, and I am working on a alternate history, weird-ass noir werewolf audio drama called It Takes a Wolf.
I was so surprised to not hear you say the horny werewolf audio drama.
I should have, too, because I was working on the horny part last night, too.
I know. We were getting sneak peeks in the chat, y'all.
Yeah, it was pretty great. I'm Sam, and I think that my project I said Sam and West again. My
Sam
project,
and West.
Yeah, my project, As in West, I'm afraid has been left by the wayside, but it's just temporarily.
Yeah. You had a lot going on.
That's a mood. Yeah, hi, I'm Jack. Same thing. I did a bunch of work on other podcasts this week, and also I'm moving, so that's where I'm at. Did not do anything on As in West, but I am working on As in West, theoretically, in the long run.
And I guess for my update, I took last week. I said, or last two weeks ago, I said I was going to very specifically not work on episode 3, and start trying to gather up other information for other episodes so that I can jump around, which has been, it's very strange to fight my instincts, which is to work my brain is just work on episode 3. Just what you've already got it going, just go it. But I got the whole series outlined now, which I hadn't actually written down before.
Wow.
And that presented me with a bunch of things that I then had to talk about, and which I've been using my channel in the Discord to do. And so Jack and Sam will just jump in and they'll be 2,000 words of Scott just rambling by himself.
I love it. Listen,
I do too.
I love it. It looks like it's working exactly as intended, which is it gives you a place to work through your own thoughts and put them onto theoretically paper so that they're all laid out in front of you, which seems very useful.
Yeah, and then you get little eyeball reactions from us.
Yeah, where we're all hello, we're looking so hard.
Yeah, it's the kind of thing that I would normally just do in aloud to myself, and I've just been doing it in the Discord instead, which is actually helpful because it gives me something to reference back again later when I think through something. I'm oh wait, what was I thinking before? Oh yeah, there we go.
Yeah, if it's not just a thought in your head, now you can term search it and find it again and use it again, which is great.
Okay, and so Jack, you said you didn't get anything done. Sam, did you say?
Yeah. You didn't get anything done.
Well, you said. I'm just checking in to make sure that we cover.
No, yeah, I did.
I actually do have As in West kind of on my brain a lot, and so it's not like I've forgotten. I guess by the way,
look, I'm rotating them in my brain like a rotisserie chicken, but
Cat.
It's still
Cat.
Cat is here, big time.
Cat is here. Cat has completely taken over the webcam feed.
Listeners, I wish you could see what me and Scott are seeing right now, which is just a blurry freeze frame of the side of, I think, the broad side of a cat, just the whole haunch of a cat.
The kitten loves sitting on the computer. That's why I have to lock him out whenever I'm doing actual recording. Okay. I think he's good. Yeah, so I have actually been thinking about As in West, so that's a thing it's percolating in my brain, and I'm thinking through fun scenarios about doing really kind of silly stuff.
Yeah, that's how it be sometime.
Yeah, actually, complete side note, go on a little tangent here. I started watching Dead Boy Detectives because that's the preview I saw that gave me As in West vibes.
How is it?
It's so fucking gay.
Is it? Ooh, okay.
Gay. But then it's not gay because one of them is not gay. So one of them is in love with the other one, and it's he's just really wonderfully, beautifully, gloriously gay. And I didn't really know where the show was going because I haven't read the actual thing. So I was like, oh, is this show gay? And and then you get your female character, and she kind of wrecks the vibe a little bit, and I was really turned off. She's great. She's really, really good. I'm not saying she's bad as an actress or the character is bad, but it wrecked that super gay vibe I thought it was going and I couldn't. I stopped watching because I was sad.
Damn.
But I think the show is actually pretty good. It turns out it's not As in West vibe really.
Okay.
it just sort of looked that way in the preview. So anyway, sorry, side tangent. The other thing is I wanted to announce something kind of cool, but I wanted to announce it here because I really would love to see you guys' reaction. So I got my very first what's it called, offer from Macmillan to narrate a book, which is kind of a big deal.
That's awesome.
It's one of the big five, so I'm kind of freaking out. I do not necessarily 100% have the job because I think where we're at right now is the director producer guy Steve is showing the author, giving the author my sample, so the author could still be like, nah, this voice doesn't fit. So I've been offered, which is the really hard part, and then where I'm waiting on if I am actually going to do it or not. But I wanted to read you guys just the very, very first line of the what the book is about.
Please.
Okay, here we go. So it's a palace the size of a city, ruled by giant ladies of unknowable eldritch origin.
Giant ladies! Let's go!
Fucking hell, yeah, that's awesome.
So
that rules.
He sent me the book, and I was like, wow, the cover is beautiful. Wow, I can't believe this is happening. This is so surreal. This is amazing. This is my dream. And then I read the first fucking sentence, and I was like, I gotta tell Scott.
I gotta tell my homies who love giant ladies. I know some guys who are gonna flip their shit when they find out about these giant ladies.
We are officially giant lady appreciators,
unknowable eldritch ladies.
Yeah, for real. Ticking all them boxes.
I love everything about this. Yeah. That's so awesome.
Anyway, that was
huge congrats. I hope you do genuinely get to the job and get to read it, because that sounds incredible.
I would love to get to the job. That would be great. Thank you.
That's super awesome.
Sending you them get that job vibes right now.
Speaking of audiobooks, I have been blasting my way through a series written by a guy named Rick McIntyre, who's if anybody in the world has watched Wild Wolves more than he is, I would be very surprised. He is a guy who works at Yellowstone and is literally just out there every day with a spotting scope watching them in the wild. And there is so he has a trilogy of books about 3 different wolves: The Rise of Wolf 8, The Reign of Wolf 21, and then The Redemption of Casanova. And I'm on book 2, and I because I'm turning into a parody of myself, I was I finished book 2, and I was literally I could leave the office and go outside, because I'm there's a really good chance I'm going to start crying right now.
Gotta go walk around in nature.
Yeah, I gotta go be because it's still a bit weird, just sitting at your desk frying. Somebody comes up, hey Scott, what's up? And I'm there's just a book about a wolf, man.
Wolves, man, you know what I mean?
But I would highly recommend them. They're very good.
Okay, cool. I love reading about wolves.
I do remember finishing, I don't know, book 5 or 6 of The Dark Tower on audio at my desk at work, and being really embarrassed that I had to leave my desk, because I was at the front of the office, and I was I don't want some really important shareholder or some millionaire dude, mogul guy coming in and seeing this person just sitting at the front desk crying,
just snot and tears at the reception desk.
Exactly. Oh man,
that is, I love audiobooks, but that is definitely one of the you can be doing anything while being internally, emotionally completely wrecked. You're going about your life, mowing the lawn or whatever, and it's oh dear, I am feeling the feels.
Yep, I'm feeling the feelings, and I have grass clippings up my nose, and it's just a whole situation.
I don't remember if there was anything I wanted to cover with you guys about the writing process or anything. I mean, we already talked a little bit about me going out of order.
Well, yeah, tell me how that's going for you in general, because so Sam, last time we talked about how Scott's natural inclination is to write in chronological order always, and not leap ahead or skip around. Yeah. And I'm the opposite way. I like to just jump to whatever part interests me next, which is making it really hard to finish anything ever generally. So when I write for Breathing Space, I actually try to go in chronological order, but for part of the finale this time. I didn't. I just did my normal leaping around shit and stitched it together after. So Scott was like, maybe I'll try that, and now I want to hear how it went.
Yeah.
It's I have to fight myself so hard to do it. Like it's so not the way my brain works when I am writing. I work so heavily in like literally like one person says something and then what's the next line? What is the response to that? Which I think is an asset because I think my writing flows really well.
Yes.
But I think it has been causing me trouble with with writing It Takes a Wolf because like if I get stuck, I am stuck. Like literally if I do not know what the next line is, even if I know what the scene is beyond that, if I don't know what the next line is, I don't feel like I can keep going. So I've been trying to break myself of the habit. And it's interesting, like just sort of forcing myself to write something out of context. Like if there's an idea that's been chewing away in the back of my head for a week, it'd be like, just get it on paper and have it. So like there was you guys have seen some snippets where like somebody's talking about like how do you make a wolf or how do you make a werewolf, and there's a whole thing about like you take a person and you divide them down the middle and blah blah blah, and like that's literally something I've been thinking about since I started the project. And I'm like, well, okay, I'm just gonna put it down and I will know that this will get used somewhere. I'll just have this little piece chunk weighting and some other stuff like that. Like if I can think of a good line, I'm just trying to like generate those bits so that hopefully later on when I come by to write the actual episodes, I will like, oh, I can just drop in a chunk here now and put those back in and stuff. So it's real. It feels like no progress because I have like not done any, like I haven't produced anything in the last 2 weeks. I haven't finished that episode. I don't have any more on my word count or anything, but I've done a ton of work, of which I have like these chunks and bits and huge thoughts and stuff like that I've all processed. But it's very strange. It feels super foreign. It seems like it's being productive. So I'm glad I'm trying it. And I'm going to keep going sort of in that direction. I'm just going to allow myself to also write episode 3. And oh no, it looks like we lost Sam.
Sam's gone.
Oh no,
he's vanished.
Yeah, that's the nature of VoIP stuff. We will give him a moment to pop back in.
Maybe he'll come back.
Yeah,
Snake. Well, okay. I'm glad to hear that it's like at least been a fruitful exercise, even if it's not a comfortable exercise.
Well, I mean, like getting myself out of the comfort zone was what I was like, that is literally what I'm trying to do. So and that's how you grow and learn things is by like doing things you're not comfortable with. So it's been super weird. I think it's been useful, and I'm going to keep trying to do stuff in that vein. But yeah, seeing how the other side lives, y'all with your ability to jump around and not like just write things literally straight through. I wrote an entire novel that way once. Like oh
my god,
yeah,
just from like front to back chronological order. Wow, that's just bonkers to me. It could not be me, I don't think. And it's funny because you have ADHD and I'm pretty confident I don't. So I would like assume that we would be the other way around on this. But
yeah, I would think. It's not like I'm not thinking about that stuff. I'm constantly thinking about the other. I'm always drafting stuff in my head. It's just that I can't I feel very uncomfortable being like, well, let's just go ahead and write the next scene, even though I haven't finished the scene before me, because my brain is like, if I'm looking at that first, trying to start another scene, I'm like, well, where am I? What context do I have? What just happened?
What's going on?
And it feels
I'm lost.
Yeah, it feels unmoored, but that's not necessarily a bad problem.
I find that I end up doing a lot of like stitching together work. Sure. Like after I have sort of laid out my spread of little moments that don't hook together, I have to be like, okay, well, now this has to be hooked to the other stuff that comes before and after it. So I end up writing a lot of connective tissue after the fact. I had to do that in college with every fucking essay I ever wrote as well, because I would write essays this way too, where I would like not go in order. And then somebody would read my essay and be like, well, you have like 4 different little tight essays here that have nothing to fucking do with each other, and you need to stitch them together somehow. And I'm like, fuck. We have Sam has returned. Okay. Sam.
Hello.
Snake.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can.
Yes, hi.
Okay.
We missed you so bad.
I'm very sorry. Apologies. The cat stepped on the power button.
I was seeing a little cat head at the bottom of your screen, just lurking, waiting.
We need to get you a little like the switches they have, the cover switches they have on like missile buttons on like
Yeah,
airplane
God,
there,
right.
on a fire
The
jet. They're
red
like, okay,
button
flip it up
cover.
and then push it. We need one of those for you.
I'll see if I can get one for like the whole goddamn keyboard.
You just need a cat-proof force field on your entire setup.
Okay, I'm very sorry.
It's all good.
I only missed a little bit of it though, I think. So
Yeah, no, you're good.
Yeah. We were just
talking about how it's funny and backwards that even though Scott has the ADHD and I don't, he goes in order and I don't. Like it seems backwards.
yeah, writing.
I
is
definitely
weird.
have it. The when I went in for my to get reassessed, and I was talking to my doc. She's like, okay, let me give you the thing, like the list of here are the questions I'm going to ask you, and you're going to tell me, do you agree strongly, mildly agree, strongly agree, or whatever. And I was literally like across the board, strongly agree, except for one, which was, are you often late to things? And I'm like, no, I'm always really early, but only because I have an anxiety about being late, so I show up.
Yeah,
early.
it's but it's anxiety, not ADHD. In that case,
that's just a different
it's
thing.
a different brain thing. Yeah.
Well, and also I know that if I didn't plan it ahead, I would be.
Oh wow, Sam, you were not joking about how fluffy your black cat is. I'm now seeing this cat on screen. Incredibly fluffy.
It's nothing. Boy.
It literally is like me and Jack watching a terrarium view of the cat.
I love this. I love this for me. This is like a great, relaxing, soothing visual to have on screen. while we do this
My
podcast.
computer actually paused for a second, and I thought it was gonna die or whatever, and then it just comes back with Jack being like fluffy, and I'm like, oh, yep, I'm talking about that.
The cat looks very content. That's
just vibing.
This is
He's
probably
my
bad,
sweetest cat.
bad for content because we're just all ooh, let's talk about the thing that
I'm trying to be very descriptive about the cat behaviors I'm witnessing so that the viewer can build a little mind picture of Sam's cats.
My cat terrarium. I wanted to say something about the linear writing, but I've completely forgot what it was, and because of all the cats.
Do you go linearly or not?
I have to go linear.
You have
because
to,
if I go out of order, I just miss stuff. I tried doing a book once out of order because I had these plot points that I was trying to. Because I do not. Wow, what's the word? Make a outline. I don't outline. And so somebody was like, just make a skeleton of your most important points, and I was like, okay, that makes sense. And so I decided to, after making my skeleton of points, go and actually write the points, and it really fucked me up because by the time I went back and I got to the point that I had written already, the important point, it was completely different. And so I was missing things and I was leaving things out and I was adding things that weren't in the thing that I'd already written. So it doesn't, I am the absolute, all the way on the right side of the spectrum when it comes to pantsing. And because I just discovery write, everything I write is oh, this sounds, I think I'm going to do this. And because I did this, I think I'm going to do this. And so if I were to write out of order, it wouldn't even be the same story by the time I got there.
That's so funny.
Yeah. That's normally how I am too, Sam. I'm trying to do it the other way this time, but that's normally how I am, where I'm I have an idea of what things are going to be, but I have not nailed things down until I sit down to do them. Which is so I feel you very much.
Fascinating to learn that I'm the little freak of the three of us here who's I just do everything out of order, fix it later, whatever.
There's no wrong.
I have a lot of friends who do it. Yeah,
I know,
have a lot
but
of friends
it is
who do
funny.
that way. It's very cool to hear that process too, because I'm man, that's another universe. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, this person's in another fucking dimension. It couldn't be me.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it reminds me so much of or just the idea that there's no wrong way to do it. I always see so many people are don't do this when you're writing. Don't such and such. Don't do this, or you need to make sure you do this. The classic example is don't use passive voice, right? Never ever use passive voice, which is a fucking stupid thing. And I was thinking about it the other day. I'm man, if all of that can be fixed with the idea of try this or try not to do this or try not doing this, but it's not
or use it sparingly, whatever it is that someone's telling you to never. I'm okay, well, it's probably fine in moderation though, isn't it?
Well, it's really the thing of, if you do it, understand the effect it has.
Yeah,
Rules,
like
you can
use it
absolutely
effectively.
break the rules. The whole, like, all of modern art is about breaking the rules that were established by previous forms of art.
Mhm.
It's all, you absolutely can just throw the rules out the window if you understand what that rule was doing in the first place.
Totally. Yeah.
We already lamented about show don't tell, where it's like that is meant to be a kind of like demonstrate, show us the thing that we want to see rather than telling us about it and then like expecting us to believe it. But it's about but like that means that you can absolutely tell if you want. You just have to know what you're doing, which is that it like comes off as a point of view as opposed to the absolute truth.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Well, and I had like a writing teacher once who was like, don't ever use adverbs if you can help it. Like just use a stronger verb instead of an adverb. And I'm like, okay, I get where you're coming from, especially teaching high schoolers where you're like, you don't want every other word to be an adverb. I get it. However, I definitely feel like that can be a stylistic thing too. Like if you have a piece of writing where there are no adverbs and all the verbs are just like less like background noise, for like really sort of eye-catching verbs every time. Oh my god, 2 cats. 2 cats. Viewers, listeners, we are viewing 2 cats right now.
Such bad
together. 2 of them. This has been Cat TV with Jack and Scott.
We are just
Sam's
that one XKCD comic of like vicinity to cats to inanity of what you say, where it's like as you get closer, it's just like kitty.
Woo! Fluffy. Look at them.
Okay. Adverb.
Adverb. Yeah, just so that, like, if you said he said slowly instead of he whatever, pontificated, I don't know, like stuff like that, where it's just like, I get where you're coming from, but again, like, it can be a stylistic thing, it can be a thing where there's right and wrong, like, moments to use it. I don't know. There, all of those pieces of writing advice are, I feel like, so case specific and subjective.
What are the rules anyway? Because you will get different people telling you what the rules are in the first place.
Yeah.
So, and because like I love the said argument, because there's always going to be some person who's like got a few books that are like popular in a very specific niche, and they're like, you should never use said. Said is terrible. And then Stephen King, who is exponentially more successful than pretty much anybody I've ever met, and he's like, just you said, nobody realizes it's there.
The thing about said is that it fades into the background. Like, it doesn't draw attention to itself. It just lets you deliver the dialogue without having to like draw specific attention to the tag.
I'm one of the people who I personally think you should be using said more the majority of the time, because if it's not clear how the person is speaking, then you've written the dialogue wrong. Like, it should be clear both who is speaking and how they're speaking straight just from the way they talk. Like, that's really important. Now, that being said, doesn't mean that like there isn't a place to use that. There is no hard and fast rule. It's like, it's all like, you can even break like simple grammar rules for effect. You just have to know what you're doing. Where like, if you include a sentence that has no subject, where it's just like the verb and what happened, and it does not include who did it, like that will disrupt your reader's thought process and break them. And you can do that on purpose to effect, to like have a rushing effect where, like the narrative is stumbling over itself, or that it is fragmented. Like, as long as you understand what you're doing, the effect that what you're doing has, you can do whatever you want.
Right.
Because sometimes you're going to want it like to specifically do that thing that breaking the rules causes. And that's, fantastic.
And I do understand that there needs to be some semblance of rules, at least it somewhere in the world, because, there are new writers, and new writers need to know basic stuff. But then once you've got your like basic rules down, you'd need to just start breaking them.
It's a bit like training wheels, probably.
Yes.
I think that makes sense.
Not everybody will outgrow training wheels, because not everybody is going to be a practiced writer, and that's fine. So like they're okay to, you know, have their rules, but like once you get good enough at something, the training wheels come off and you're allowed to do whatever. But the problem is, and I think most writers get that way. Like they get to a point where they're like, oh, you know, I can abandon like the prescriptions that my English teacher in 5th grade told me never ever to do. But then what you end up with is people on the internet who are still like never got to that point. They're still using the training wheels, saying that that is a universal thing that applies everywhere. And it's like, no, that's not right. Like you grow past those things eventually.
That's such a good analogy, and I'm going to steal it.
Oh
Yeah.
When I talk in panels and stuff.
Oh, Sam, didn't you have stories from panels recently?
Oh God.
Yeah.
Hit me with that good shit, please.
I don't want to like make us go way over, so
It's fine.
I'll try and condense it a little bit. So I do NorwestCon in Washington State, and it's like a science fiction, fantasy, and horror con, you know, writers con, speculative fiction con, and they have these really cool tracks. So they have like teen tracks. It's all just like writing, you know, how to write, you know, like how to deal with whatever. And they have a bunch of fan fiction stuff, and it's really fun and it's very informative. And I, for some reason, keep getting put on these panels for writing, which is fine, but I wouldn't consider myself like a writer, like a pro in writing, but I guess I would consider myself a quote unquote pro in fan fiction, I guess, because I did fan fiction for a long time and I was fairly popular, and I can speak to things like dealing with bad reviews, because when you have a million hits on a story, you have a lot of bad reviews. That's just how it goes.
Law of
People
large
will
numbers.
flame you for really random reasons. And so one of the panels that I like to do is I like to do the how to deal with bad reviews, flame, you know, because these are teenagers that are like just starting out their fan fiction careers, and getting your first couple bad reviews is really rough. And so I start my sort of story with I just got out of the military. I was just done with all of the going through all of the paperwork and and I was like, I had just taken the plane home. I was settling in. I was living with my grandparents. My partner was overseas in Iraq. It was a very kind of it was a weird time, and I had
tumultuous
a baby.
time.
Yeah, and the baby was, let's see, Oz was like three weeks old.
Wow. Tiny Oz.
Really little tiny Oz. And so I was emotionally compromised, and hormones are going crazy, and I needed kind of an outlet, and I loved anime a lot, and I was like, oh, I'll write some fan fiction. I love fan fiction, blah blah blah. I loved Bleach. I still love Bleach. And so I decided to write Bleach fan fiction. And for those of you that don't know what Bleach is, all it is a bunch of like it's a dude that's basically a Grim Reaper, and that's like the best translation we have for it, and he helps these other Grim Reapers fight lost souls that have turned into monstrous lost souls, and that's basically all the show is in the beginning.
This is funny because I'm just now realizing I did not know what Bleach was about. This is the first
very
clear
good
explanation I've heard of what Bleach is about. Okay, anyway,
it's wonderful. I love it. It has great characters. It's very fun. So I decided that I was going to write some Bleach fan fiction, and I write fan fiction, and so I decided on some side characters. I didn't want to make the main character my one of my main characters, because that's how I roll, I guess.
Sure.
Anyway, the point is, I wrote my first chapter. It got pretty good feedback, like right off the bat, and people that were big in the words.
The Bleach community.
Yeah.
Thank you. The Bleach community. They were like, "Oh my gosh, this is a great start to a story." But then I got this review, and I put it in Word today to look, and it's like 500 words long.
Oh my god!
And it's just basically it's a crazy person. So let me grab it. And
story time with Sam. Read aloud hour.
If my stupid thing will just restore, that would be great. I know that we shut down. Just do it again.
Just do it.
But anyway, I read this review and it was, yeah, it was now when I read it, I laugh because it's absolutely ridiculous. But this was my first bad review and it made me feel terrible. And I had to actually leave my grandparents' house. I left my baby sleeping in her crib and I told my grandparents, I'm just going to go to the store. And I went to the local grocery market nearby and I sat in the parking lot and I cried for 20 minutes because it was so emotionally devastating. And I was like, I guess I just won't write. Oh my gosh. Poor little tiny,
I'm hugging
whatever.
past Sam.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal. But and then I kind of got over it and I was like, okay. I need to respond. I need to engage and have a conversation because again, I didn't know what I was doing. And so I came back and I listened to you and I responded and with thank you so much for your input. And then she came back and I asked her, I was like, what exactly, do you not like about it? And she responded and I put the second review in Word today to see, and it's over 1,000 words long. So it was
people,
but the nice thing about that second review is that it was so off the wall, just fucking crazy that it kind of fixed my feelings. I was like, okay, well, this person doesn't really know what they're talking about.
And the other person's just unhinged. I don't have anything
about
to
me.
take
It's
from
about
this.
them.
No. And so a lot of the time when I talk about this review in panels, it's either talking about how to respond or not respond, how to engage or not engage, and how to deal with the feelings that you're going to get when you get these terrible reviews. And I always give, please don't immediately respond. Take the information and kind of let it percolate for a little bit. Think about what they're saying. Make sure that it's something you can actually use for constructive change. And if you can't, then it's not something worth your time.
Yeah.
Right. And but I'm going to read it for you, the first one, because it's just so unhinged and I love it now. It's one of my favorite things of all time. So the chapter is basically just super fucking basic. Renji, who's a very popular character, is the main character in my fic. He is fighting a hollow in basically his backyard in our world, in the real world. And Ichigo comes right when he kills it. Ichigo's the main character. Ichigo comes and it kind of ribs him because they're buds. He's like, hey, getting good at this, fucking hollow thing, blah, blah, blah. Just being silly.
Just bro stuff.
And then when they part ways, Renji's a little bit sad because he used to have feelings for Ichigo, and he's kind of sad about it. So that is it. That is the whole fucking first. That's the first chapter. There's nothing else in there, I swear. So here's the review. It starts out with a section where it's bold and it says corrections, and then it has a couple lines where she has written the line that I wrote, and then she puts the correction underneath it. There's two
the correction.
The correction section. And then underneath that, she has a bolded review. And then here's the review. Characterization is calling. She has a lot of misspellings and it would really like it if you didn't butcher it so badly. I find it disappointing that Matsumoto is the only one in character in this chapter, and Renji just barely manages to stay within the bounds of slightly icy. The other two, Orihime and Ichigo, are both OOC, and as far as Ichigo goes, it's almost painful to read. The story also lacks any emotional connection / attachment. I know Renji's hurting, but I feel no empathy for it. Side note, that's not really my problem. A writer's biggest goal is not to just tell the story, but tempt the reader to feel it. And there's no temptation here. This is my favorite part. Both problems could be remedied with a rather simple solution. Prequel. On the OOC side, if you write a good prequel in which the characters start off as IC, then you can slowly develop them and make the major OOC we see in this fic not seem so unnatural or jarring. On the side of the reader not getting any sense of emotion, by starting a prequel, you can develop a connection between the reader and characters, particularly Renji, that would add the emotional depth that this first chapter alone does not create. I'd like to side note right here that there actually is a prequel to this fic, and it's called Bleach. It's Bleach.
It's called Bleach, the show, the text
Yes.
of the show.
It's called being a fanfic.
Yes. As far as starting chapters go, there's enough here to tempt me to read the rest of the story, provided I can turn a blind eye to the OOC, which I have stated before is up to near painful levels on some characters. A previous reviewer called it girly, and I would have to agree, but it's really not a compliment. Beyond these, this is also great. Beyond these bads, though, there's really very little for me to pick on. I pulled out some spelling/grammar things I saw while reading, but there's nothing else worth mentioning. It's not necessarily bad, but there's nothing really good here either, other than your actual writing. Well, apologies for not being your everyday It's Awesome reviewer, but I hope that critique helps them.
Oh my god, I'm so sorry. I was like screaming into my hands the entire time you were reading that.
So,
oh my god,
you can understand why a new young fanfic writer, this would be really painful. Like this would be very very
totally
hard.
like devastating to read that.
Yeah. Nowadays, I read this for fun in a voice when I do panels, and I kind of wish that this person, whoever this person is, knew that I use their review as
like a teaching aid,
teaching tool, because it's just so unhinged and so ridiculous. And when I responded, when I took my couple hours and kind of thought about it, and I responded, it was mostly like, could you explain to me what the OC things you're seeing are? And thank you so much for the corrections, blah blah blah. And she starts out her second review with, oh my god, ... where to start. And then it's 1,000 words, and it goes all over the place. It's like it's so unhinged. Like she talks about how to make these characters in character, and then she talks about like spoons in a dishwasher, and like it's insane. It's really insane.
Wow.
So when I read the second like her response, it was like, oh, I feel like she might not know what she's talking about. This might actually be okay. And I went and I clicked on her like live journal to see what she does, and this is why it reminded me that when we were talking about it in the Discord, she writes extremely juvenile, very 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 badly written Sonic the Hedgehog fan fiction.
Oh my god.
And I have nothing against Sonic the Hedgehog fan fiction. Do what you want to do, but I read some of it and it's just so bad. Oh my god.
What a beautiful story. Thank you for sharing that. What a good belly laugh I got today from that. Oh my god.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Yeah, it's the real answer is that it's almost never about you. It's almost always about the person. Like
100%. Yeah.
Like the fact. Yeah, pretty much. You have segued us perfectly into the big thing that happened with Breathing Space over the last couple of weeks, though, because we're now talking about bad reviews. I don't know if this is what brought it up or not. But,
this is so fucking funny, you guys.
So the story is that I pay for the hosting package with Breathing Space, and since I upgraded that package a while back, where it would now email me if we got a review somewhere. And I'm paying like $10 a month for that. It has never sent me a review since then. We haven't not gotten a review on one of the services. Totally fine. I was just kind of like, I should cancel that. But then I got a review. It emailed me. This is the only review. So I have essentially paid.
That's so funny.
Maybe about $60 to be emailed this review, and it was worth every penny. 1 star. Title: Communism. I tried to give this the benefit of the doubt, but it is basically communist propaganda disguised as a story. I lost track of how many times the characters rag on capitalism. The villain of the piece could easily be replaced with Amazon. I've made it into the 2nd season, but I'm giving up. By person we will not talk about on Apple.
We're not going to dox this person, but to this person, thank you so much for this review. We have gotten so many new listeners.
Yeah.
That's like
the answer is that I think of every piece of feedback we have ever gotten, this one has been the most useful in terms of marketing, because this person has correctly identified, with little caveats, the heart of the show. Like, no, they got it. We fucking hate capitalism across.
We do, and we say it often and loudly.
We say it often. You do not need to point out that our Amazon substitute could be Amazon. They're called Yukon. Like, it's not subtle. Like, we have painted all of these things in giant letters across the show, and the only difference is that we think it's rad. Actually,
this is and all the people who are finding the show from this person's review are like, "Wait, this is such a good endorsement. I have to go listen to this immediately."
accidentally written an excellent endorsement of the show because they have identified all of its qualities, and by being mad about it, made a bunch of other people say, "Well, I'll check that shit out."
I'll check that shit out. That sounds great. Let's go.
The only thing I can say is I wish that Hay had said it was too gay, because that would be the only thing that they left out.
Yeah. I am kind of convinced that they didn't realize it was gay.
Yeah,
based on the rest of the reading comprehension happening, or the not reading. I guess you're not reading it, but the sort of media comprehension that's happening in this review. I could easily imagine that they did not even realize there was queer content in this show somehow.
I don't know. There are actual canonical gay couples in the first season that called each other wife and husband. So I don't know.
So you would be surprised at the amount that cishet people can just not hear things.
You're right.
The amount of times before my wife was out to all of our friends that I accidentally used her new real name in front of someone she wasn't out to yet, and they just did not even notice. Didn't even blink. And me saying a feminine name to them.
Yeah. And that extends to authors who will write the gayest shit you've ever heard and then claim that those characters are straight.
My God, tell me all about it.
The other thing that's so interesting about this review is if you were to take this exact make it like a Mad Lib and apply it to anything, and it's basically a person that has come in and been like, this is the show, and I can't listen to it. He could have gone into. I'm assuming this person's a he.
I have no idea.
He could have gone into a sci-fi, a full-on sci-fi military thing, and he could have gone this show is a sci-fi military, and wow. I'm done.
I hate that shit. I'm out. I can't do it.
I did a whole season and a half, but I hate military sci-fi. And it's hey, dude, what are you doing here?
I forget who it was that pointed out. This person made it a season and a half into our show while apparently hating everything about it. That says some pretty good stuff about the quality of the
honestly, that's also a ringing endorsement because it means the show is so well made that this person stuck it out through a season and some.
This is so great. Yeah, so I legit think I looked at our numbers and I think we've gotten maybe 50 listens a day more than we would have on average because of the hubbub we found. Now, obviously, there's noise in that signal, so that may not be 100% related to that. But
it's funny. It's very funny.
It's so funny. Okay, well, we've been talking a little long. I still have to go back to work and all that stuff. So let's do our goals for the next 2 weeks if you guys want to set them.
I'm still trying to do my same goal of talk to Sam at any point about what's going on in the next episodes. However, with the caveat, I am moving. I cannot promise that I will hit it, but I will try.
Okay.
I am waiting on audiobook stuff, so the only thing that I'm doing right now is the last finishing touches of This Thing Is Ours, which is a Breathing Space episode.
Yeah,
it is This Thing of Ours is the title of that one.
Ours. That's what it is.
But it is turning out amazing.
This Judah thing is what I call it because it's actually the second episode of
this Judah thing. It's turning out amazing so far, what I've heard of it.
Thank you very much. So I got to finish that, and I have some Shelterwood edits, but other than that, I don't actually have a lot going on. So I am ready to actually do As in West things for real.
Cool. All right. And I'm going to keep plugging away at stuff. I'm now going to continue my out of order attempts, but I am now officially releasing myself that I can work on episode 3 again.
Okay.
That's no longer my rule has been lifted, and I can maybe hopefully get some progress on that by the time we come back. Can't guarantee that I'll finish it, especially if I'm devoting attention elsewhere, but I am excited. It'll be fun. We get to kill some Nazis on screen. So
Ooh, hell yeah. Let's go.
That's always fun.
Always time for that.
We will catch y'all back in 2 weeks.
Okay, bye everybody.
Bye-bye. Thank you for joining us for Behind the Locked Doors, a library of cursed knowledge, production, podcast thing. I don't know. If you are interested in any of these projects, you can head over to library.horse, which will eventually redirect to a webpage once I make it, If you want to support the podcast, we do have a Patreon. It's patreon.com/cursed knowledge. See y'all next week. No, wait. See y'all in 2 weeks.